seen Darshan play a versatile style. Huhi is actually second in the entire league for solo kills. He is doing work by himself unassisted and getting things done in that mid lane. And Stixxay, you saw his stats earlier, seems to be a prime AD carry right now.
And that's the kind of thing you love to see for these teams, those upward trends. Everybody stepping up, everybody putting in work together. There's a reason both these teams had a 2-0 week last week.
Exactly. CounterLogic Gaming, they had a slump at the start. They started getting things a little bit together. Is that the continuation of this momentum? But one of these teams, a little euphoric right now, but it's going to have to stop after today because one of them has to lose this match.
Yeah. Can't have two winners walking away from this one. Graves, the final ban on the side of Phoenix1, while the CLG bans are going to be Elise, LeBlanc, and Varus.
Leaves still a decent amount on the table. The Ashe, though, over the Jhin for Arrow. But the thing is that this meta has always favored Arrow with the top three, Varus, Jhin, Ashe. It doesn't matter if he has this pick of the litter, he's going to be able to perform on all of them.
The Ashe locked in first and foremost. We'll have to see how CounterLogic Gaming wants to respond with their first rotation. The answer is going to be Shen immediately locked in, rengar right thereafter, and there is some dangerous synergy between these two champions.
Yep, able to actually jump in on the rengar and be delivered to the backline here. So Xmithie, see if he can step up. He's actually, let's talk about Darshan. We were looking for him to step up previously. And now that he has, Xmithie, there's a bit of a spotlight on him now. He's actually currently the leader in deaths per game and the death leader of the NALCS currently. So Xmithie, I assume he will die a few more times this game because he's going to be jumping in, going right after people, delivering Darshan.
Granted, he does have a juicy target to go for on that Ashe. Definitely one that can be popped by a rengar if he's not careful. Meteor is going to be grabbing that Olaf for himself.
Seems to be what he considers counter to rengar.
That's, if it works, it works. Let's go for it. P1 has one more pick to lock in before we reach the second part of the bans. And Nautilus will be their choice, taking him into that top lane most likely against the Shen.
Yeah, like you said, most likely because it could be a flex to support. We did see that a little bit at IEM. But Phoenix1, if that is Adrian on it, or if it's Zig on it, does make CounterLogic Gaming. I think what you do is you just assume that it's the top lane, you ban supports, you ban mid lane. If you're CounterLogic Gaming,
go for the safe options. Interesting thing to actually point out, both these top laners are playing champions that they have very few games on so far in this split of the NALCS. Only one game of Nautilus for Zig, and only 2 games of Shen for Darshan.
Yeah, Shen got banned away a whole bunch in the last few weeks. Maokai did take a nerf, so he drops down in priority, and Maokai is both of these top laners' most played champion so far this split. But it's no surprise that Nautilus with wave priority and lower mana costs now is the way to go.
Jhin will be the final lock-in for CounterLogic Gaming in the first part of the picks. They wanted to make sure that that AD carry role didn't get pinched any harder. With Varus already banned away and Ashe already picked, you gotta respond with another one of the top tiers.
Yep, you definitely have to, and you can see the bans coming through here. CounterLogic Gaming threw down the Zyra. They're banning out support here, assuming that it is a top lane Nautilus, which you would. And Echo is the response ban here against Huhi, who did have a pretty good showing on that champion, I believe, in the past. Has played it a few times now, but is one of those ones that he can TP and split push on, and I think it's one of his best champions because he loves to roam, but he also loves playing assassins.
So if you can get an assassin that roams, hey, it's almost like you got the best of both worlds.
It's kind of like you add on the triple whammy there too, because he's an assassin that roams, has wave clear, and is AP, and on top of it, you actually want to bring teleport. Whereas Zed, Ignite, things like that with Ahri, same thing.
Ahri taken off the table by CounterLogic Gaming. Phoenix1 has one more ban to go, about 15 seconds to choose that last champion that they don't want to be dealing with from CLG this game. And it looks like it's the target ban onto Huhi, that Aurelion Soul. We know him so well for this champion, and Phoenix1 apparently does too.
Yeah, when CounterLogic Gaming have the very last pick, they can save it for Huhi and pick him the Aurelion Soul if the environment is good for it.
Jayce locked in for CLG.
Okay, that will be a mid lane Jayce here. And so we'll go over to Huhi. We're seeing Jayce mid primarily now since the nerfs, not so much in the top lane. But that means that this is a very heavy physical damage composition from CounterLogic Gaming up against what is already a double tank comp from Phoenix1 with the Olaf and the Nautilus. So itemization gets pretty damn easy for Phoenix1.
Yeah, Ninja Tabbies, Frozen Hearts, Randuin's Omens, you stack the armor and you become very difficult to deal with. It's going to make that lethality that Jhin and Rengar like to build that much less effective, and it's going to make percent armor penetration, through Last Whisper and its evolutions mandatory.
Yes, but that's the good thing is You put in gold into Last Whisper, 45% bonus armor penetration right off the bat. You don't have to upgrade it already to get to that point where it was before. A little less AD on it, but still, the armor penetration is why you buy the item, and that's just more enhanced with just the first purchase.
Phoenix1, they're going to say, you know what? We don't really want to run the big AD comp ourselves. They're going to be locking in Nami and Syndra as their final 2 picks, and we know what kind of AP pain that Syndra can bring.
Oh, yeah. Up against something like the Jhin or the Jayce, you can actually apply a lot of pressure and go for the kills, but there it is. I was expecting. This is something that Aphromoo brought out already, but it's the Adrian special. It should be Adrian's champion. It's like, you use her against
Feel his
me?
thunder, man.
Still, these are the 2 bottom laners that the supports that you're like, these are the guys that love those healing, shielding supports. Even when it goes off meta, you're just like, these are the guys that really like to go for it. Even though Aphromoo has been making his name as a playmaker throughout the years, it does seem like the range supports do suit him quite well. You throw back to MSI where he brought over Adrian's meta and made the final.
Just hand delivered it. It's like, hey, this actually works. I still remember all the conversations people were having on Twitter at the time. Why isn't A playing poke supports? Why isn't A playing healers? The meta is tanks. Where's your Braum? Where's your Thresh?
Hey, range supports this game, baby.
Range supports this game. That's what we're going to be seeing from both of these teams going into game number 1 of Phoenix1 versus CLG. A team tied for 3rd versus a team tied for 5th, even though only 1 game separates them and could really put a swing on this.
Yeah, and if CounterLogic Gaming do walk away with a win, that gives them an even match record with Phoenix1 at 6-5, but CounterLogic Gaming already beat Phoenix1 once, and they would hold the tiebreaker head-to-head 2-0. So, put Phoenix1 in a bad spot.
Yep, that actually puts CLG ahead of Phoenix1 in the standings, even though it's tied, because when it goes to the tiebreaker, head-to-head decides it.
Mm-hmm. They would have to have head-to-head, of course, against all the other teams that are around them, though, and tied for the position. So it wouldn't put them completely in 3rd place just yet for CounterLogic Gaming if they walk away. But Phoenix1, it would put them 1 step closer if they win those top 2 and the playoff bye.
But of course, this situation we're talking about is strictly hypothetical because CLG has to win this best-of-3 first, and Phoenix1 is going to be doing their damnedest to make sure they don't get away with it, at least not without a fight. We're on to Summoner's Rift for the first time today in this series. Phoenix1 walking out the gate. CLG going to be moving out as a unit right now, but it looks like we're already starting to see a little bit of a fan out here. Probably nothing too crazy at level 1 in game number 1.
Yep. Looking at what is a little bit crazy here, though, is we're seeing the mastery change for Arrow. Oh,
all right, we're getting some action just before minions even spawn. Huhi's looking to flex those muscles, jump right in there onto Ryu.
Yeah, Ryu is going to be a bit careful, though. Nautilus playing that side, so don't want to get too much of a false sense of security here if you're Ryu. And yeah, I think Zig, I think he may have spotted that, yeah. I think he just barely saw that.
Just want to point out that Meteos also used his Ghost at the very beginning just to get out onto the map faster so that Summoner spell's on cooldown.
It's actually interesting because I see this a decent amount, but I saw it more in around October when Olaf was really popular. You would Ghost right off the bat. You already have the reduced Summoner spell cooldown from your Masteries. It's already a short cooldown itself. And you run straight to the bottom bush, and you make sure that if they're trying to face check it, you actually get there a little bit sooner. And if you're Olaf, you can run them down with the axes.
Yeah, you're pretty much guaranteed to force the flash because as soon as that first undertow connects, you're just going to chase them for eternity.
Yeah, and if you're doing your jungle, it's not a huge deal that you don't have it. If you put yourself in a situation where Flash would have saved you or anything like that, get over a wall, then it's like Olaf wouldn't have taken that anyway. So he's going to clear very quickly. By the time it hits about that 3-minute mark and his jungle is done, his Ghost is pretty much off of cooldown.
Seeing that pretty standard Raptor start from both junglers this time around. Ever since everybody figured out that those little baby chickens give you level 2 for clearing them all out, it's a popular place to start.
Yep, and because of the fact that at the very beginning of the game you saw Zig and we were focusing on him on the top side, it actually allowed P1 to go into the jungle, ward this up, make sure, okay, Rengar's not starting on this side, so he's going to take away the blue buff here, and you expect the answer to be from Xmithie to go blue buff on the other side. Or even go for a gank, I don't know, because Zig is pushing up level 1. Okay, so
Zig's pushing, but
I was like,
Xmithie...
I was like, level 2 would be crazy.
Yeah, it's a little bit audacious, but just a little bit.
Strange bit to his route there.
Instead, he heads into the enemy jungle. Going to be taking the wolf camp away before anything else. Just trying to grab as much as he can, saying, you know what, Meteos is going to be stealing everything in mine. I might as well steal everything in his, return the favor.
Yeah, when you have that protection of your pushing bottom lane, in Meteos' case, you don't have to worry about a Soraka coming in to deal with you, feed you some bananas. It's not going to happen.
Not a welcome part of the diet here for Meteos. He'd rather just take those wolves away for himself right now as Adrian and Arrow pushing themselves up, utilizing that trading and lane bullying power that Nami.
Yep. It's the back and forth here. And when Soraka was meta, there were a few questions about, like, okay, what really beats Soraka? What really does well into her? And some people were saying, like, Nami, Sona, things that, Karma really gets destroyed because Karma's shielding versus, the Soraka just healing and actually giving HP as opposed to temporary. And Nami has CC, has the ability to heal multiple people and trade effectively. Oh, Xmithie looking for that top.
Xmithie into the top side. Khan's going to be finding his way onto Zig, who's trying to put some damage back onto Xmithie, lock him down a little bit as he gets himself away. Spider-Man Nautilus still looking to walk out. Xmithie without the damage to actually make that one happen, but getting the flash and sending him home is still a bonus.
Yep. Big win there as well for CLG. Just going to get the teleport, I assume. No, he's just going to pop some potions, go back to the top side. Xmithie wards the Tri-Brush. And he's going to go do his Krugs, be efficient with his route instead of trying to repeat gank Zig in the top.
Shen with that multiple bead start that you kind of see as the standard these days, giving him a lot of regeneration, allows him to build those into whichever items he feels like building them into later.
I feel like you sell one of those in the build. You build Tiamat, which requires one, and then eventually you get to a Crystalline Bracer, which will take another. If you want to go something like Knight's Vow, I think that has one in it.
Where does the last bead go?
I think it goes back to the shopkeep.
All right, fair enough. I have no idea how much that item sells for.
Someday actually did the same thing and ended up selling one.
Sells for 105, so you only lose a 45 gold investment. You lose 2 minions worth of gold.
That's actually very cost efficient. Most items, just especially Torrents, don't sell back for nearly as much.
Right, they have like a below 50%
it's pretty bad
refund value, whereas that one has like a 70% refund value.
Yeah, and speaking of starting items as well, I wanted to touch on Arrow. We've seen this start on Jhin with the boots 4 potions, but he's decided to go for it on the Ashe, which is such an interesting choice in a sustain lane, where they just so highly prioritize getting towards their build, and it's not so much about the potions anymore, because you have a sustain support. Even Jhin, even Stixxay has taken the longsword 3 potions. Those 3 potions are probably going to sit there for a decent amount of time, because he's going to have Aphromoo just feeding them hell.
Right. You're taking the potions because you have no money to buy anything else. You just wanted the long sword so you can go towards that lethality, get the Ghost Blade up and running, and hit those super early power spikes as these junglers
Blast
be
cone?
Running into each other here. Blast Cone ready to go, and that launches Xmithie straight away to safety. Sends Meteos back over the wall, but
he's heading them off
into each other again. Undertow's going to be finding its mark the first time around. Meteos looking to run him down if he can. Flash has been used.
Oh my god.
Running towards yet another Blast Cone. Might be caught off here.
Huhi's
looking
low
to make his way into the fight. Darshan trying to join as well. Xmithie going to be brought down to one more hit.
Oh my god.
Meteos brings down the Ashe. Able to find one. There's number 2. Ryu's going to be grabbing that one. Darshan exhausted. And Phoenix1 is going to be going 3 for 0.
That's 3 kills right at the start of the game. 6 minutes in off of a roam from Meteos. Xmithie went back to that side and didn't avoid it. That seems like overconfidence on the rengar, and Meteos just gives him a stake in the face. Look at
right there. Walks too close. That first one hitting.
I mean, I don't know why he goes back up to that top side, and Huhi is losing mid in terms of these trades. Ryu doesn't have much mana, but neither does Huhi. The exhaust comes down, so when he jumps in, the Q doesn't do as much damage, and now he's kind of running to his death there. Darshan's coming through, and that's just Xmithie off a really bad route, and honestly, too much confidence there in what he was able to do, and his mid laner was not ready for that. Huhi does try to help, but he just gets himself killed.
And even Adrian makes his way up into the fight to provide the heals, make sure there's no retaliatory kill.
Yeah, gets 2 assists on it as well, and that's something that I'm pretty sure he watched the SKT series. There's points where you're like 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in, there's a fight going on top lane. It's like, why is Mata here in the top lane? And I think that Adrian has started to roam a little bit more, even on these supports that are supposed to be for the lane and for sustain.
Well, you saw how effective it was right there, and now with that 3-0 lead, 1,500 gold is exactly how far ahead Phoenix1 is just 7 minutes into this match. They got to be feeling good about that one. Full kill participation for Meteos, now 2-0-1 on that Olaf. Got the Bomby Cinder as well as the Ionian cooldown boots, and we know that Olaf is a very scary champion when ahead.
Yeah, and Meteos, he played as well. Oh my god, he's going to come up on Xmithie, who doesn't have flash. He's too far forward. Syndra's going to get here first, too. I think Xmithie is...
Oh, Xmithie, what are you doing, man? Trying to make a beeline for that plant, but he's not going to be finding it. Meteos on a killing spree.
All right, when I said at the start of the game that Xmithie might get more deaths, I didn't know they were going to be this soon.
We thought maybe by the end of the game, but 7 minutes, 8 minutes in. I'll give him 8 minutes. We'll round it up a little bit just to kind of give him a little bit of an easier time. But it's still so bad. Huhi, one more hit would have been able to take him down. But we've been talking, Zyrene, about how CLG's had multiple members stepping up, about how Huhi has stepped up, Darshan has stepped up, Stixxay has stepped up, and eyes are on Xmithie.
Oh my god.
To go next. Aphromoo having to run himself away, but the bubble finds him, and Meteos is just going to be going chop, chop, chop. Exhaust keeps him away. Aphromoo alive for now, but Xmithie is not having that kind of a step-up game we were hoping he would.
No, he's the last guy that I'm looking for here from CLG. We talked about how they get out of the bottom of the standings. How they get to the top of the standings is they all need to be more in sync, and I think Xmithie's the guy that hasn't really quite stepped up to that level just yet. Like we said earlier, most deaths in the NALCS and deaths per game.
Now, because Phoenix1 is so far ahead, because they forced back the enemy support, they see the opportunity to seize a very early Infernal Drake.
Yeah, and this is going to slowly snowball towards that bottom side, getting killed.
Oh, Aphromoo going to be chain CC'd and just shot all to pieces. A little bit more damage. Focus Fire going to be finding number one. Meteos pressing the go button, pedal to the metal. Arrow cashing in on that one too. Gets himself barely away from the turret. Meteos makes this a 6-0 game.
I didn't know it was going to be that fast, but I was talking about how P1, this is going to just start to snowball to the bottom side of the map. Meteos had already taken the camps on the bottom side, took the blue buff, took the Drake, and got control of that side of the map. They get so many summoner spells out of the bottom. 2 flashes, a heal, and Meteos goes for the dive from the back. An arrow with the arrow onto Aphromoo, who still has flash up. He didn't use it previously when you saw Meteos in the jungle. They could have avoided that arrow.
They don't. Stixxay can't get away either. And the game goes from bad to worse. 4,000 gold difference, not even 10 minutes in, is just a massive, massive discrepancy between the teams.
Oh, God. It's like 4 kills, 3 kills, sorry, for Meteos, and he's ahead. And then the mid lane is ahead by 20 CS. The bottom lane has some kills. And the only person who's like actually behind in this game for P1 is Zig in the top lane. They have 4 people ahead.
And he's behind by 7 CS. It's not like he's actually behind. He's like, oh no, I missed a couple of creeps. Too bad my jungler's got 3-0-2 scoreline.
Look at this. He's going after the flashless AD carry.
Oh, bad news bears. Ragnarok's going to be able to tear him down before Aphromoo can make it in there to drop the heals. Aphro now in full retreat, going to be getting himself out, but 7-0, Phoenix1.
Yep. It's not a typical AD carry life. Not everybody gets to play mid lane, I'm just saying. Not everybody gets to
carry 2017. Sometimes the Olaf's just hanging around in the bush and there's nothing you can do about it.
But this is what we were talking about when we were saying Meteos, he doesn't have like the mechanics or doesn't claim to have like the... He's not on his game, right? He's not at that point where he's playing the Graves, having the great mechanics. He's like, I'm a little rusty, but the game sense. All right, these guys don't have flashes. All right, I have enough damage at this point that I can just crush these kids. I can keep going in. Pop the Ragnarok for extra damage. Run straight at him. He's got nothing. 0 answers. But look at this.
Adrian and Arrow going to be caught out. Tidal Wave looking to be disengaging this one. Arrow flashes into the Dragon Pit. I don't know about that one, Zyrene. Curtain call opened up. Arrow trying to fight against Huhi, but the exhaust is going to make it a very one-sided fight for now. Meteos looking to come in, clean some of these guys up, find some revenge if he can, but instead engages straight into his own death.
Doesn't have Ragnarok.
A little bit more damage will likely spell the end of him here as Xmithie comes right back into the fight, looking to find the damage onto Adrian. Ryu's not going to be grabbing anybody from that stuff already. He's going to be channeled. Zig trying to make something happen here, but it's not going to be happening just yet. Ryu going to be taunted. Darshan's able to make the flash play. Xmithie's going to be grabbing that one. It's about to be 4 kills for CLG.
And they're going to come up huge. Aphromoo dies to the turret.
4 for 1, still a great choice. Zig gets to the party a little bit late, but he's still mopping these guys up. Oh, bucket at the ready. A little bit more damage will do it onto Xmithie as well. A triple kill for the big man.
Oh, it looks so good for CLG, and then it looks so bad for them. That TP from Zig, he got in on that ward there that Stixxay's on, and he ends up cleaning house.
He comes in a little bit late. There's dead bodies all over the floor, but he's going to make sure there's even more of them.
Yeah, a little bit late. I think, you know what? A Zig is never late. He arrives
precisely when he means to.
Get the triple kill on the tank. It's because I criticized him saying he's the only person who's behind in this game. Not anymore, Zyrene. He's ahead. So Zig is doing a good job so far. This, though, Meteos doesn't have Ragnarok, so it's taking him so long to just peel away. There's a good catch out there from CLG. They need to stop. It was time to stop. They start backing up, and they're like, oh, wait, there's a TP there. They didn't actually have vision within the range of the TP to see it coming, and so they answer with the TP as soon as they started to back off. Darshan comes in, gets the taunt onto Ryu. They pick him up, and then this is kind of the tag team back and forth. Aphromoo wants to get the heal on Darshan to save him, and he does, but he gives up his own life. And then Zig is here, the big tank.
Just comes in and smashes the remnants of CLG.
Good hook as well. And I think Zig, we talked about before, 3 of his last 4 games had been on carry top laners, and he sees himself as a carry top laner. But that hasn't completely carried over in terms of perception to his gameplay. They put him on tanks, and now he's on a tank against this team with 3 kills.
Huhi may be in some trouble here. Curtain call going to be opened up to disengage this one if they can. Xmithie looking to come around, make some kind of a flank. G1 in retreat. Shock Blast not going to be finding anyone. They disengage it well.
Darshan is here on the side, and Zig is going to continue to shove out top lane. That's going to pull Darshan up to the top. The question is, does P1 get the inside track onto the top side of the map and start going for this? Xmithie has put himself onto the buff, and they might fight in the jungle here. Ryu has the ulti, and he might go for a flank.
Meteos face check into that brush. Xmithie still looking to take away the red, but it's Meteos who gets it.
Gotta look out.
Gonna be sidestepping that stun, but the burst comes through anyway. Point, click, delete. Ryu gonna be grabbing himself number 3.
Yep, and they're gonna look towards that top turret. Zig had time to shove that top wave in, and so it's right up against that turret, and they're gonna be able to pick it up right after.
Phoenix1 looking very good so far here in this first game. Really going off that momentum from last week. The 2-0, and we talked about these teams having 2-0s last week. We can't downplay Phoenix1's 2-0 because it was against the #1 team at the time, Cloud9.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that they beat Cloud9, one of those games was very convincing, and then it was almost a throw. And then the next one, it was like Zig. He dominated Impact in the top lane, 60 CS up against the person who was considered the best at the time. And then Meteos going toe-to-toe with Contracts and just honestly playing as if he had nothing to lose. And that's the strength right now for Meteos. He has all of that knowledge, that game knowledge, but he's not afraid to use it because he doesn't care if he makes a bad call because he's like, I'm invested in this team, but not to the point that, oh, I'm going to be here forever.
It's not like infinite pressure on you. Every single mistake is the end of the world. It's a more breathable atmosphere.
He's got the freedom.
Freedom to make those decisions, do what he needs to do, and what he's done so far is bring his team up to a 7K gold lead.
Yep. And we didn't touch on it earlier, but P1 had actually posted on their Facebook that Inori is back and they're splitting practice time between him and Meteos. But Inori is currently actually taking a little bit more of a break. He asked for more time to get acclimated and to get back into the swing of things. So they're going to be using Meteos today. Don't know what's going to be like in the future because Inori is there and they are splitting time with him.
Huhi tries to drop his combo onto Zig, barely cracks the shield on the Nautilus and takes a lot of damage in retaliation. Zig is so strong right now, and remember what we talked about in the champion select phase. P1 has an easy opportunity to stack that armor on these tanks and just make this mid-game impossible for CLG.
And that's where the difficulty lies here in the draft for Counter Logic Gaming. They picked themselves the Jayce mid, which is easy to counter if you're just building up all of that armor. And then the lethality build from the Jhin, same story. Whereas P1 have a good mixed damage palette here. That's going to be hard to actually get itemize against. You can see in the top lane, Darshan, he only really has magic resistance and then Ninja Tabi. Whereas Meteos is still going to be packing a large punch on this Olaf. If he hits somebody with an axe, he gets that chain going. He's feeling himself. He's heating up.
The Cinder Hulk going to be keeping him nice and toasty as well. You see that with the Skirmisher Saber, meaning he is one deadly duelist. The Tracker's Knife picked up by Xmithie, obviously to afford your team more vision, more knowledge, more control, but at the cost of having less damage in the actual fights. Meteos wants to make sure that if he gets on top of you, you are dead.
Yeah, Meteos is, it's kind of an interesting style to see from him because he had that reputation of, hey, he's going to be the farm jungler. He's just going to be farming all the time. Oh man, great KDA player, right?
Yeah.
But he's playing Olaf, which if you make a mistake and you just stop your snowball and you get killed, like, he's playing with no regrets.
Flash from Huhi going to be keeping himself safe from the Tidal Wave and Arrow combination coming out from Phoenix1's bottom lane, but with that Summoner spell down, he's now got a big target on his back. Phoenix1 pushing up in the bottom lane, looking to lay siege to the Tier 2. They have removed all Tier 1 turrets from the map, so it's time to start pushing deeper into enemy territory.
Gonna go after turret.
Curtain call opened up, trying to stop this.
Deliver to
But here
backline.
comes that special delivery. Adrian gonna be knocked around. Arrow barely getting himself away from the Jhin range. Darshan immediately melted. Xmithie gonna be forced to flash away from the impending ultimate. Phoenix1 makes it a 1-for-0.
Teleport from the past. Zig was already there in 2 places at once. How does he do it?
How does he make those magic moves?
But still, now they're going to be able to siege this. They don't have Darshan there. Darshan does have teleport, so in 15 seconds it could be an issue. But I think P1 are going to pick this one up. They have the right flank around. Meteos just going straight behind the turret, and that's a tier 2 pickup, whereas Xmithie's still mid. I feel like P1 can now keep going a little bit further now, too.
They apparently feel the same way because they're marching onto the inhibitor turret. They've got themselves a 5v5 scenario now. Got to be careful to not overextend too far trying to take this. They want to bring it down, but the backdoor defense has come up, so that turret now heavily fortified compared to what it would be if minions were next to it. And P1 has to back away.
Yeah, P1, they'll probably reset here, take the blue buff, take their backs, control the minion wave, give themselves some time, and maybe reset on the top side of the map.
Blue buff going to be picked up, given over to Ryu. Next Drake will be Infernal. So not only is everything going awesome for Phoenix1 right now, they are getting some solid Drake RNG, allowing them to have that much more damage with this huge gold lead that they have right now. 8K, 19 minutes in, 13 kills to 4, 4 turrets to 0. There's no way you can measure this game, Zyrene, where CLG is winning.
Number of rejuve beads purchased.
Number of rejuvenation beads purchased. If that's the metric we're judging this game by, it's CLG all the way to the
One of them
bank.
got sold already, so. Like we said, he sells one of them and he sit around, doesn't get the Tiamat because he was a little bit behind with that first death. So just checking back in on that build for Darshan, who did get a triple taunt, but it didn't work because they had to kill Arrow, and Arrow still had to flash up her afterwards.
And you know, if P1 didn't have such a tanky front line, you might be a little bit, have to watch the itemization a little bit coming out from their opponents, because you've got Ghostblade into Serrated Dirk on both the big damage enemy carries. But when you're stacking armor, lethality is really not that scary of a proposition.
No, it's not. It's not very effective at all against stacking armor.
And look at Ryu even. Zhonya's Hourglass,
Yep.
item number 2. He's saying, look, if you're all going to be AD, I'll build armor even though I'm the mage.
Yeah, he doesn't have to build like an Abyssal Scepter second. He doesn't have to build like a Ludens or anything like that, really. Just concerned with getting blown up by something like a Rengar, so it gives him survivability there, gives him more armor to deal with the poke. And also the fact that the builds from CLG are quite behind. It's almost a 10,000 gold lead at 20 minutes. We're approaching that number.
Now, one thing that I do want to bring up in the face of what looks like a very P1-sided match, Meteos again flexing those Olaf muscles, just walking up there, throwing out those undertows. But these teams have played each other already. And CLG, like we mentioned when we were talking about the head-to-head score, won that match in 3 games.
Yeah, they did. They won that in 3 games. One of those games was back and forth.
Yes, one of them was a throw by Phoenix1. It was a comeback, however you want to word it.
Speaking of throwing, Xmithie.
Xmithie caught out again, tossed up into the air. They're going to give that one over to Arrow for free. 2-1 and 2 now on the Ashe with a 5 versus 4 for the next 30 seconds.
And so if you're P1 right now, you have so many options. You just killed the jungler. What do we do? Do we go do Baron right now? It's so risky. They have poke. Do we go for the bottom turret because it's so easy to take? It's almost dead. That's what you do with Zig. You put him there, put the rest of your team mid. You do this. Infernal Drake is up in 45 seconds. You'll have time to reset the map and get that Infernal, but apply the pressure now. And you can see Huhi's off on the side. He has to take care of top wave. And that's going to be, I believe, this turret going down, and they might be able to rotate to the bottom one too.
Inhibitor turret is in the dirt. Inhibitor now the target. 21 minutes into the game. Phoenix1 deciding to back away. They hear the Rengar roar. They know that he's going to be coming.
Now
Curtain call opened up. Huhi trying to come around to the side, but these curtain calls don't do anything. They're like a minion auto attack to Zig. And the last one just clears away part of the wave. Phoenix1 goes right back in. They know the ultimates have been expended now. There's not that huge threat, and the first inhibitor falls 22 minutes into the game.
And look at that. Arrow gets hit with a shock blast, gets taken to about half HP, but he has Adrian there. He has the sustain, and boom, Arrow full HP again, has the red buff as well for some passive healing. And it looks like it's not the call to go for the Infernal Drake. They got the mid inhib, and this looks like a trap. It looks like they're looking for Arrow's arrow. And there it is!
There it is, onto Xmithie yet again! Caught out, knocked down, blown up. Ryu grabbing the killing spree onto that one, and with the enemy jungler dead, Looks like those P1 boys are heading to Baron.
P1 play with expectations so much. You expect them to go for the Infernal Drake. They move to the side of the map that has the Infernal Drake. Xmithie should probably think he's 100% safe to go in that side. And then they show up. The arrow comes out. He gets hit mid-air. And now it's going to be the Baron here. And CLG, they'll try to pick up the Infernal Drake as a consolation prize.
It's a great Drake, but when you're trading it off for a Baron, it's not the best feeling in the world. Baron secured for the side of Phoenix1. Darshan, Aphro, and Stixxay taking down this Drake as quickly as they can. They'll at least grab that for themselves. A minor consolation prize, considering they're now down 12.5 thousand gold 23 minutes into the match. They've got one inhibitor down and one exposed, staring down the barrel of a Baroned up Phoenix1.
Yeah, and Phoenix1, in terms of the draft compared to CLG, it looks like they're going to have to go back to the drawing board a little bit with this one because it got rolled over so far. And I think a lot of that is Xmithie's play and also Meteos punishing him. That was so aggressive of Meteos early on to play to the face of a rengar. He knows the limits of this champion on the Olaf. And the question is, does it start getting banned?
And that's something that's kind of fun to see because Olaf, that's not what you're generally seeing in the jungle these days. It's about the Kha'Zix, it's about the Rengar, it's about the Graves.
But that's what makes the ban even better because you're not banning your own champion pool. You're banning the other guy's champion pool. It's why the Aurelion Soul ban is so good. You just don't want to have to deal with it, right? So Phoenix1, just take it off, make sure that it's not an issue, not even something you have to think about or consider. Aphromoo got hit up, and Ryu.
Arrow onto Aphro, Xmithie trying to be the front line. Ryu's already got the kill onto the Soraka, making a double onto the Rengar. Darshan, not really capable of doing a whole lot of anything. Teleports right into the stun. A triple kill for Phoenix1's mid laner. Huhi gonna be chased down by that Nautilus ulti. Stixxay gonna be going down next, most likely. That Olaf is just berserk running him down. A quadra kill for Ryu. Are we gonna see the big Penta? I'm not quite sure. Scumbag Huhi hanging out in the fountain.
Oh boy, they've dove a fountain before. P1 have
They've still got time
before.
That Penta timer is like 30 seconds long.
Oh, can he kill Aphro again?
Aphro's alive. He might be able to find the Soraka. Nope. They're not going to give it to him, man. Scumbag Huhi. Zhonya's Hourglass popped by Ryu. The Nexus falls, and Phoenix1 in not even 25 minutes takes game number 1.
24:51 on the clock. Domination by Phoenix1.
What a wonderful performance by these guys. We're talking about wanting to win this game, wanting to continue that momentum upwards. Phoenix1 is a playoff caliber team. The question is, how high can they actually go? Based on the performance we saw this game, they got some real potential.
That was dirty. Like, that game is just textbook go, go, go. And Meteos made, honestly, all the right moves. I'm looking at that play, and I'm like, he has priority mid. Xmithie, what is he doing? Why is Xmithie playing so far forward, invading multiple times? Like, he went for an invade, got caught out. Meteos punishes him. He gets killed. He gets his mid laner killed. He gets his top laner killed. Then he goes back to the scene of the crime on the other side of the map, goes after the chickens, and it's like, what are you doing there?
What kind of a chicken is worth this much? You already killed half your team, and now you're going to go back into enemy territory. And that's kind of one thing I wanted to point out, and it's not to downplay anything about Meteos' play, because he did very, very well that game, like we just mentioned. But at the same time, you got to look at Xmithie, and you got to look at him to fix those mistakes, because there were plenty of them this game, and CLG can't afford to have that.
Yeah, he was 1-7 in a game that had 19 kills for the other team, so a large portion of it where the next highest on his team was 4 deaths. So Xmithie, he's trying to make plays, he's trying to jump in, but it's not working out. He's getting punished for it, and I think that's one of the things, like we're saying, you can't really downplay what Meteos did, and I agree with that, because what Meteos did is he punished that. He actually saw the hubris from Xmithie on Rengar, saying, that's not how that champion works, brother. That's not how that works. You can't do that. You can't come into my territory this early in the game and expect not to get clobbered by an Olaf.
Yeah, that's what Olaf specializes in, right? Olaf duels you. Olaf runs you down and kills you.
Snowball early.
Massive early damage with those undertows, and Xmithie learned the hard way that doesn't matter how strong Rengar is, Olaf is still Olaf. But after that dominating win from Phoenix1, we're going to send things over to the analysts so we can see exactly how it all went down.
Thank you, Captain Flowers. Azael now joins me to break down that series, and a little one-sided. We saw things happen in the beginning from both sides, but it seemed like P1 just really had everything in the wheelhouse to make things work. And looking through the pick order as well, we do see that we see this trend of CLG kind of always wanting to take away things and almost getting hurt by that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things with CLG that is kind of confusing to me, and I feel like a lot of the teams are recognizing it now as we can just start rolling through the draft, is the fact that rengar is pretty high priority in the NALCS in most regions, right? But teams are leaving it up so that CLG like essentially has to pick it. They're like, oh, you better pick this, otherwise we're gonna get it in a later round.
Right.
Knowing that Xmithie is not performing on the champion, right? And this is my problem with it. Graves is taken off the table, so he cannot go for the Graves, but there's a lot of other champions that are still available in the jungle, and Xmithie has shown that he's not successful on this. You know, there's only there's a couple jungle bans, but there's still Lee Sin, there's still Nidalee, there's still like a lot of champions. There's Rek'Sai,
and CLG is also giving a lot of resources to this to work. Having that Shen to be able to go in with rengar, having poke that the Jayce can put in pre, so you can flank with that rengar and even have a wish from Soraka to make things work.
And I mean, kind of what I want to talk about is that I think this is a great draft. When you look at this, if you take away the team name, you're like, great, it works well for them. But the problem is, just because you have a good team and good champions does not mean that it works well for you. And that's what we want to talk about a little bit with Xmithie, you know, on the rengar. They even have a team composition that works, but it was not successful.
Absolutely, and coming out in the early of the game, we're speaking about junglers. Player of the game coming into this one was Meteos on the other end. That Olaf play, being able to start things off in the early part of the game, really get things rolling. And we've heard from P1 since he started, it feels more comfortable to go in or let him do his own thing. When he does his own thing, he can usually get things rolling.
Yeah, exactly. And Olaf is not a high priority champion, right? This is not something that a lot of people are playing. But Meteos is showing comfort, like play what works for you. You do not have to play the highest tier champion that is always available. You can play what you're good at. And Meteos takes the Olaf, massively outperforms the rengar here. You know, Xmithie was getting caught out left and right. He is 3-1 on the champion, but his stats are not good whatsoever on this champion. People are going to continue to leave it up against him because they are happy for Xmithie to be picking it. And I think that CLG needs to realize this and needs to figure something out. Either you have to just accept the fact that you have to ban it away from your opponents and just take that as a hit to your team. Hey, we can't play it, they can. That's on us, right? You have to take that extra ban and kind of lose that. Or you have to have him figure out some sort of another answer, because this has been a problem with CLG all season long, and Meteos just stomped this game.
Yeah, he has been looking very good coming into the side of P1. Ryu as well in the mid lane to have Meteos kind of be able to fly around. He does so well controlling the lane on anything. They know how to play against that Jayce. You see the Syndra this game, and we see on CLG side things start to flounder a little bit. We talked about picks and bans. We also know that previously, you know, Darshan would ban out that Camille on blue side. Things that they have always looked to do and kind of save people from either having to play a champion, but now put Xmithie on that champion that we kind of see to be possibly an error for them to keep taking this rengar. We'll have to see more as we go into the later parts of the game. Obviously, looking at the bot lane, we had Freak, Mark Z, and Freeze going on chatting about that. Arrow having another great game as well. And Stixxay, they still put up a great fight in the bot lane. It was a great lane to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about Ryu as far as consistency. Arrow is another guy. These two players just don't really seem to have bad games. It's not that they're hard carrying every single game, but it never feels like, oh man, Arrow is why they lost that game. Oh, Ryu is why they lost that game. And I think there's so much to be said for this. They're never the anti-carry, right? They're never keeping you out of the game. They will be consistent performers. Arrow is so safe. He's on point with his skill shots. He always has high damage done. He's just so effective. He's really everything you want from an AD carry, and I think that was showcased pretty well this game.
So how might CLG kind of strong arm next picks and bans against P1?
I mean, CLG talks a lot about we don't want to play our opponent's style. We shouldn't care what they're doing. We should play our own style. And I think that they need to be true to that with Xmithie. This is not working. Switch it up. Get him on something he's comfortable on. Pick priority, be damned. You need to be comfortable on your champions.
All right. Well, we will see if CLG can put up a fight in game 2 or if Phoenix1 can close this one out with a clean 2-0. We'll be back right after this break.
My name is Huhi. Haunted houses are spooky. I like cats who are floofy. My name is Darshan. Enemy top laners make me yawn.
Oh, spitting bars.
There's number 2. Ryu's gonna be grabbing that one. Darshan exhausted. And Phoenix1 is gonna be going 3 for 0. Focus Fire gonna be finding number 1. Meteos pressing the go button. Pedal to the metal. Arrow cashing in on that one too. 4 for 1. Still a great choice. Zig gets to the party a little bit late, but he's still mopping these guys up. Oh, bucket at the ready.
A little bit more damage will do it onto Xmithie as well. A triple kill for the big man.
Teleports right into the stun. A triple kill for Phoenix1's mid laner. Huhi going to be chased down by that Nautilus ulti. Stixxay going to be going down next, most likely. That Olaf is just berserk running him down. A quadra kill for Ryu. Are we going to see the big Penta? The Nexus falls, and Phoenix1 in not even 25 minutes takes game number 1.